James, thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm stoked
This,
to be here.
yeah. This is we've never actually met before. I've only been I've kind of been lurking on your LinkedIn and X, formerly Twitter, and I like that you put out what seems to me very genuine, your genuine take on things, despite what other people might think about it. I like that kind of like spicy takes a little bit, but I'm gonna try your last name here, Hanzimanolis,
Perfect, man. You're like one of the first people to get it. You nailed it.
because I watched your podcast. I watched you correct like four other people.
Oh man, that's right. I had a. You should hear some of the names people call me. Hanzimanolis, like they throw peas in there. I had one thing. I was getting an award for something as a kid. I won some trophy or something. It was in Boy Scouts,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy was so hooked on saying my last name the right way, he messed up my first name, but he stopped halfway through my last name. So he said, "The next one goes to," I swear to God, Jizzy Hands, and I got picked on.
Bro.
I got picked on forever for that one.
Oh man, hold this L.
So it's fun. Yeah,
Hold this L. Incredible. Okay, so this I started this podcast because whatever, everyone's got a podcast, but I mean this is really partly inspired by you and other people who were telling me I should start creating things, and I just came up with this cheeky name, Rizz, and mostly because I'm interested in the people behind the business and like how they got into what they're doing and what they're interested in now. And of course, I'm always interested in learning new tools and tactics and techniques and all this stuff. But there's just so much of that. I just, I don't know. I feel like we need to start getting to know each other. And we forget that we're talking with other human beings who have their own, things that they're dealing with, secrets, things that are important to them. And I feel like we don't hear enough about that. So what's your story? I mean, did you pick selling or did selling pick you?
All right. So how did I get into selling? So I was working at a Whole Foods in I don't even know, it was 2018 or something like that. I was a college dropout. I wanted to be a hippie, so I'm working at Whole Foods. I'm like, I'll just do this forever. There was a dude there. I can't remember his name, but he looked like Benjamin Franklin. So everybody's called him that. And he was like making $30-something an hour. And I was like, damn, I was like $30-something an hour. I was like, I could live off that. Well, I had a kid, and I was like, okay, this isn't gonna cut it. Even when I got a pay raise and everything, I was getting paid $16.50 at Whole Foods, big whoop, and I was like, damn, this is just not gonna cut. I was also doing like overnight shifts, so it was just so much work for so little money, and I never saw my kid. I basically missed like the whole first year and a half of her life because I was working like 3 jobs at once. And I was at one point, I was like, man, fuck this. I'm like, fuck all that. I get a sales job, and I'm crushing it at this sales job. A recruiter from MRP in Philadelphia, which is this giant, it's almost like an outbound sales company. They do marketing campaigns for companies like Dell and Cisco and HP. He hits me up. He's like, hey, we want to hire you. I don't know how he found out about me. We want to hire you. Let's talk. I do the meeting in the car, and it's like freezing outside. So I'm covered in this big snowsuit, covered in snow outside of a Walmart. That's where I was selling. And I got the job. And I quit basically the next day there, and I started at MRP. And it was like all of a sudden I went from making absolute shit money to making legitimate money. And I got to quit the other jobs, and I'm providing for my family. And so that's how I got started in this whole thing. How I got started in this content marketing agency years later is like a totally different story, though. So I've been doing outbound sales forever. I feel like I'm one of the best at it, humbly. But with content marketing, I cold called Seth Godin on the phone. Who, if
I was
people
going to ask you
listening
about
don't
this
know
story.
who that is, it's a true story, man. People don't think it's a true story. I cold called him, and he picked up on the first call. He's like, "This is Seth," and I was like, I had no idea that this was your number. I was like, I don't know what to say. He was like, "Kid, when I was your age, I did the same thing that Isaac Asimov, who's a famous writer who wrote the Foundation, which is on Apple if you haven't seen that." He's like, collect yourself, get it together, ask me a question. I'm about to hop out of the Uber and go back home. I was like, how do I level up my career? I'm like the best outbounder in the world and blah, blah, blah. And he's laughing. He's like, yeah, that's great and all. He's like, find a way for people to come to you instead of you going after people. And that just hit me like a truck. And so I started posting on social media. I was working at Phone Burner at the time. And I started generating more inbounds than I was doing outbound work. They were better. They were closing more. They were better quality. It was even helping my outbound. I'd call people up on the phone and be like, oh, I see your stuff on LinkedIn all the time. Okay. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, this really, really works. And it's very untapped. So that's my story about how I started, why I started, and how it eventually turned into this whole content marketing business, which I think is the best way to do it.
Gotcha. So you say that content marketing is the way forward. I do find myself, I'm a cold caller, right? And I know that in theory, having more of a presence online is good. And I guess I struggle with the fact that I am telling people that you should, I'm processing this kind of live with you. I'm telling people, hey, you should use the phone more, but I myself am using other channels to get your attention. I mean, is that, did you ever struggle with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you cold
You
called.
feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah, there's
feel like a hypocrite, yeah.
Little bit. I know that they all work in concert. They all work together. Like, my point of view on the future is that skilled individuals will start working together. This is another part of the RizDev kind of mindset and ecosystem of people that I know, is that they all collaborate. Like, very, this is very like Joe Rogan-esque, where everybody he knows a bunch of talented people, and just him like going to another state completely changed comedy, really. So comedy in LA all moved to Austin because this one guy, I'm not saying I'm going to be Joe Rogan or anything like that. I just mean that just all the collaborations coming together and people working together in the future, I think that might be the new wave. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
No, you're good, man. I was saying you're probably going through, I live right next to the fire station. You can hear those trucks in the back.
It's all good.
So you're going through exactly what I went through when I first started posting on socials, which is, I'm an outbound guy. Why the fuck am I spending I hope it's okay if I curse. Why am I spending all this time posting on social media when I should be behind the phone doing all these calls every day? And my long answer short for that is, you can look at any category of people. You can look at content marketers, you can look at cold callers, you can look at all these people, cold emailers, and everyone's going to say, oh, this channel is a waste of time, because 97% of the time it is. But when you look at the Joey Gilkeys of our space, or the James Hanzimanolis of the space, or you look at the Kellen Casebeers of the space, right? You look at those people have such a profound presence in the space, and they know how to dominate that space so well, the channel works for them. Long story short here is, like, every channel works, period. But you have to be fucking good at it. And it's so hard in SaaS specifically to find people who are good at anything. I just took a demo call. If you become a client, I'm sorry. I just took a demo call with someone, and he was like, oh, he's a senior VP somewhere. He's like, oh, I'm trying to figure out, I just started this new company. I'm trying to figure out, like my ICP. I'm trying to figure out how to get my sales development team to actually make calls. I'm trying to figure out this shit and that shit. And it's like, motherfucker, that's what they brought you here for. How are you still struggling with it? So it's like, it's really, really hard to find A players in this space who can just come in and rock shit. But when you do, you get them, and you get them on your team quickly. So I feel like I'm rambling and going all over the place. Those are some quick thoughts I have.
Where do you see, what do you think is the ideal outbound? I mean, when you talk to a company, like in my view, I've read like Predictable Revenue, and I think everybody kind of took that book and was like, we're going to do that. And I guess that was fine for a while. And now there's evidence everywhere that, okay, this isn't working anymore. What is the next step for these companies? Like, how should they approach their outbound if everything is so difficult? It's hard to find good people. I mean, what do they do?
So there's a couple thoughts here. A, you can go fractional, and you could outsource to professionals who are really good at this stuff, like myself or like Kellen. Like those, me and him, like if we worked together, we would absolutely crush. I mean, you could take somebody like me and Kellen, or me and trying to think of somebody like a Charles Needham or someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you said, all right, I want you to work on a project together where you just dominate for this SaaS product, we could beat a team of 25 SDRs because they absolutely suck most of the time. I'll call out a specific company. So like Sendoso had like 20 something SDRs and they weren't generating any revenue, or they're generating like very marginal revenue. And so they scrapped the whole team and they rehire the whole team. And I kind of scratch my head when I see these movements because I'm like, haven't you figured out that what you're doing doesn't work? So, like it all starts at the top. Like you could find a really, really, really good sales leader to do this stuff. And then you don't need to hire 20 SDRs, especially if you're a mid-market company. You need a handful of people who are really good at what they do. And that, like, I would rather overpay 3 people or 5 people than hire 20 SDRs for dirt cheap and have to manage them and worry about churn and worry, I can't get them behind the phone. Fuck that. You know what I mean? Why would you do that? I could ramble about this forever. I get so pissed off at this space because everybody has the same idea on how to do outbound. Hire a bunch of SDRs, make the calls, have content marketers post shit content on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Have some people sending cold emails. And it's like, dude, if you just cut the entire team and replaced it with one really good content marketer or a growth hacker, one really good cold email agency, a couple really good cold callers, you do it for half the price and get 2, 3, 4, 5 times the output. So long answer short, get good people. I mean, which is fucking impossible.
Yeah, one of the struggles I have is getting out of the pool of cold callers, right? I am in the same perceived as being in the same bucket as somebody that they can outsource, like offshore cold calling to, which they probably could, right? We're in a global market now. This is like the flip side of the coin of work from home is now you're not just competing with the guy that can drive to the office with you. You're competing with somebody, who could be a stone cold killer at half the price, right? And that seems to be, when I talk to revenue leaders, the struggle, like, we hired this, huge blue chip outbounding firm, and the people receiving the cold calls couldn't get past the accents or something like that. And they just scrapped the whole program. It seems to me that a lot of the pressure is coming from like a board who are they're the money people. The founder is focused on his product. This is what historically has worked. So let's just do that. Is that what you're seeing? Because that's what it feels like to me.
I mean, there's a lack of competence at the top almost always. Especially when you look at companies who are like, so I can't say who the company was because it's some paper I signed. There was a company I worked for a while ago, and the CEO was very gung-ho on, I want to run outbound this way. And I was like, look, man, it's just not going to work that way. This is why, this is why, this is why. And he attributed that to, I think you're lazy. I think you don't want to do it that way. And lo and behold, I did it exactly how I wanted to. I went against my gut. The whole thing failed. Right? And then I had to fire my whole team. It was such a shitty experience the whole way through.
Yeah.
I think your question is like, what do you do when you're talking to people who are like, okay, we had an outsourced team. Bigger companies, if you want to hire an outbound team, you need to have a sales leader who understands outbound thick and through completely. You cannot if you don't understand how to do outbound, you can't hire SDRs. You need a sales leader before you have SDRs, right? Or, you can look at somebody like Dom from Trellis, who's just like a whole full-blown growth go-to-market guy. That's your other alternative. So you either hire a sales leader to build everything out, or you hire somebody who's like, I will do whatever it takes. I will treat this business like it's my own and grow it however I can. Those are the two options. Now, if we're talking about agencies, how do we sell to people who want to outsource? I let them just work with the agencies. Like that's what I did. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, we're evaluating another option. They're a tenth of the price. They're in India. Do it. Do it.
Go for it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I don't even know why you're talking to me. Like, just do it. This is. I can already get the sense here that you're going to be a terrible person to work with because you even have this idea, man. Like, if you think that, not that people from India are like stupid. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like when you have people with a thick accent calling into the U.S. selling U.S. products, it's like, of course it's going to be. It's like if I tried selling into India, like it probably would be more difficult for me. So that's my 2 cents.
Nice. You are, I can tell you you talk about this all the time. You're thinking about this often. Are you, just to shift gears, is there anything that are you a reader or anything like that? What's your intake like in terms of, or are you just, I know you're a dad.
I should probably read more.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I'm kind of going back to reading the same things again so that I can, apply it and work on it. So I get it. Like you only have so much time. I have 3 boys and a wife, and it's like
that's wild.
It's a party at our house. So, but are there things that you are taking in, or are you more of like just straight output?
Dude, in my first year of SDR land, when I first got into sales, it was like I got my Spotify Wrapped sent to me. Maybe it was my second year or something like that. So 388 hours were listened in podcasts. I'm like, how many days is that in just listening to podcasts? My wife used to go crazy. She was like, why are you always like listening to podcasts? Like you're listening to podcasts on your breaks. You're listening to podcasts when you wake up in the morning and getting ready for work. You listen to podcasts after work. You always have your headphones in. I understand why I drove her crazy, but my feelings are like, well, I need to get good at this fast. So 388 hours of podcasts. Best books to read if you're new into sales. The Win Without Pitching Manifesto is really good by Blair Enns. That one, it's for creatives, so it's a little different. That one is really, really good. If you're an agency owner, you should read that too.
Okay.
A lot of people are going to rip on me for this one. I like Jordan Belfort a lot. I think he's actually not that bad. The Way of the Wolf is a really good book. I know it's going to piss some people off. Got some others over there.
Let's piss people off. I like this.
If you get into management, Leading Sales Development by Jeremy Donovan, and he had a co-writer on that. I can't remember her name. That one was really good. That one was really, really good. The whole thing was done from a study looking at Salesforce and their top reps. And you learn so much about how to manage a sales team by seeing what Salesforce did right and wrong. So that's a really, really good one. There's some more, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But yeah, that's where I'd start.
Nice. And then on the content side, you were reading like just the classics, Ogilvy.
I had never actually read an Ogilvy book. Oh, so okay. I've studied a lot of his stuff just here and there, like follow Twitter accounts and shit like that. I should probably read one of the books.
Who wrote? I see you're a hip hop head. I'm going to shift gears again.
I do like hip hop. I like boom bap. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Who are you listening to right now? I saw you like MF Doom. You like Wu-Tang.
I love.
Have you listened to Knowledge before?
I have not listened to Knowledge.
Okay.
Or maybe I have. I think I have. I'll have to look. Maybe not.
Okay.
You know who I like a lot right now is Action Bronson.
Oh yeah.
I love Action Bronson, man. I can't get enough Bronson. Like that's well done. If you ever like that album goes fucking crazy. But the whole thing is just Run the Jewels, man. I love Run the Jewels. You know who I just found out about? Damn, what's her name? I just found out about them the other day. They don't have that much traction yet. It's Coast something. Let me look it up. Coast Contra.
Oh, I don't know.
You have to check them out, man. They're on. I mean, it's like modern day Wu-Tang. That's what I'm getting from it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I love Wu-Tang. We used to have I lived in a little tiny city in Pennsylvania, like an hour away from Philly. And we had this tiny theater in Stroudsburg, which is like that's like the spot you hung out in. Wu-Tang would come all the time. Yeah. They would come like every few months. And I know I never went to the concerts because like whenever they would come, for some reason, I just didn't have $20 to go pay for the concert.
Mm-hmm.
But I would hang outside the concert, watch them walk in and out, which was like the coolest fucking thing.
The most slept on pizza in America, Valley Forge Pizza. Bro. So where'd you live in Wilkes-Barre?
Close, yeah. So you know the area. So like,
I have my old roommate, close friend of mine, lives there.
Yeah, it's around that area. Yeah, so like that's, which like, if you've ever been to Pennsylvania, man, it's so cold in the winter. I'm in California now, and it's like I miss the cold, but I could never do it for more than like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like 8 feet of snow. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I'm from the Northeast, so I get it. You get the seasons. I'm in Seattle now, so it's we get some, change. Not a lot of snow, which is cool, but a lot of rain in the winter, man. It's brutal.
That sounds terrible.
And we do talk about going to California, but it's like, bro, you're paying wild taxes, guys.
Oh, man. It's
crazy.
Ridiculous.
Expensive.
Dude, it's ridiculous. Especially like going into so when things didn't work out at my last gig,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what do I do? Do I go solo at this point, or do I work somewhere else? It's like if I go solo, I'm gonna burn through my money in like 2 months. And this is the thing that scares a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just because California is so expensive, like rent alone is like I can't even get to the numbers. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you're wondering, like, I don't know what your story is either, but like for me, I was like, man, fuck working for other people, because the more I work for other people, the more frustrating it gets for me. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I every time you have an idea, no matter how good it is, there's all this resistance, and you realize like, okay, the failures in this company are happening because you're not just shutting up and doing what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. Right? That's like part of the problem. So if you have the kind of mindset, you need to be just an agency guy, or you need to have your own business of some sort, so you do what you want when you want. I'm doing what I want when I want, and it's working. And I just, but making that leap from like, okay, do I do another 9 to 5 because it's stable, or do I do agency life? Really hard leap, but when you do it, it's like so rewarding. I'm sure you know what that feels like.
I do. I do. Like early in life, my first job I got was working at a Domino's Pizza in Connecticut, and it's the only job I had in high school. And I was just really curious about the owner, because I'm like, so do you have another job? Do you just run this place? He's like, yeah, I own this place and 3 others. And I'm like, how do you do it? I mean, how could I do it if I wanted to? He's like, well, I mean, you've been around for a while. He basically offered to bankroll another location, allow me to manage it, and split the profit some kind of way. And I was 17, and I'm making pizza, and my pride said I should go to college, even though I'm terrible at high school, because everybody else around me was doing it, and I decided not to. I don't regret it or anything, but ever since then, I always wondered, like, what is it like to just do your own thing that you actually want to do, as opposed to being a part of like some major organization, cog in the machine. Your ideas almost basically don't matter. You answer to a middle manager who's like a nice guy, but yeah. And yeah, each time I ran into this situation where it's like, I just am not doing good at following the rules here. I probably should be either on my own or working someplace that will encourage my mindset and how I think and how I work. Right. Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm totally with you in that it is hard to work for other people, and it has been like even a bone of contention in our family. Like, there's the stability thing. There's we got to make money. We have kids, and it's just all that. But it's like,
yeah. Well, the other
I'm
part
more
of
an
it too
independent
is like,
operator.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it should be. Like, I don't think people are meant to be locked down. At least a lot of people aren't meant to be locked down like this, where they're working for somebody else. And some people, that's great for them. A lot of people, I think, are missing out. Let's return to thought. Damn, what was I going to say? I was going to say, like, this is a serious conversation. And like, if, when you're trying to figure stuff out about like, oh, can I make an agency work or not? I think what people need to realize is like, okay, if I work a 9 to 5, this is how much money I'm going to make every week. And let's say you get paid like $150 a year. right? That's a pretty good base. I mean, that's pretty good money.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks down to what, like $3,000 a week or something like that? Maybe a little more than $3,000 a week. How many clients do you need to break that? 4 clients? 5 clients? Like, how many clients do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all you need to do is get a couple clients. It'll take a few months, like 2 or 3 months. But after you get those few clients, all of a sudden you're able to go solo, making more than what you were making before, and you can do whatever you want whenever you want. So these people are so afraid to do it. They're afraid of the stability of it. Think about how unstable a job is. You hit that max, that ceiling of whatever it is. For most people, it's 6 figures, which is not that great. If you just hit 6 figures, like, who cares? If you go solo, like one of the guys I'm working with right now, he has a small agency. It's him and one other person. They do a little over $500,000 a year. He barely does anything, and he's living the life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I wish more people. I wish somebody would have told me this earlier. But like, think about how much money a job's going to pay you, and then think about how hard it would be to make that amount of money on your own.
Right. Yeah, same. I wish somebody had that conversation with me sooner.
They should, man. Yeah.
Actually, the conversation that I had. So I have a close friend who he said to me, like, the question that we ask young people is really the wrong one, which is what sends them down the employment path. And it's, what do you want to do when you grow up, as opposed to how do you want to live when you grow up. And that was like one of the most, when he asked me that, I was 23 or 24, like stoner, not a great, bartending, DJing, which was fine. It was fun, but not anywhere near where my potential is, and I was just coasting, right? And just that alone was the thing that sent me down the path of, okay, I need to learn a real skill. And I would say, sales chose me, kind of. And I should have said this at the top, Erudite, you're speaking from experience in that 2 to 3 months, you can really start to, make the money that you're talking about. Because that's what you've done with Erudite, right? How long has it been open? 90 days or so? 4 months?
A little over 90 days. Yeah, probably 3 or 4 months.
What's the journey been like?
So I'm going to give some advice here to people who want to start an agency too, and how to start, because I was so worried about money that I went against my gut, and I did stuff that I'm going to explain in a second here. Erudite for the first 2 months, I was on a podcast with, I think it was like Nick Conley a couple months ago. He's like, how's the business going? I was like, it's going all right. It wasn't going all right. I had like no clients, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, now we have a bunch of people we're working with. We're working with The Growth Machine, which is a really nice sales automation tool. We're working with ICPs, which is an awesome data provider. It's like one of the best data providers you could have for email.
And a great name.
And
I love the name.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it at first.
Like,
and then I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I interrupted. Please go on.
But working with like Hypergen, we're working with these awesome clients, like really, really awesome clients. And at the beginning, I was like, all right, I know what I need to do. I need to charge people this amount. We're going to get in a bunch of calls. I booked like 53 calls in the first month. And it was a mix of inbound and outbound. Most of it was inbound from a couple of posts I put out that went viral. I'm taking demo call after demo call after demo call after demo call. Nothing is closing. And it's because my offer wasn't good enough. I didn't have a POC. I wasn't doing any free work. If you want to start a creative agency, these are the exact steps that you should take. Find 10 companies that you really like, that you would like to work with. Message them, whether it's somebody at the top or somebody at the middle, it doesn't make a difference. And say, hey, I want to do some free work for you. No strings attached whatsoever. If you want to work with me afterwards, it's fine. Just do some free work for them. Give them something for free in that first month. After you do that, you add it to your portfolio. And now you have a portfolio that you can showcase in demo calls. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need a POC that is so stupidly obvious that it would make sense not to go with you. So I'll give an example too. I met with ICPs. When we met, it was to talk about sponsored posts. And I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't say how much it was, but I was like, I will charge you this amount per sponsored post. And he's like, that's a no-brainer. He's like, let's do it. I said, but I'm only going to do it in one condition. And he was like, well, what's that? I was like, if we do this, you need to be a client of Erudite, and I'll throw it in for free. So I was getting paid for the sponsored posts, which are like nothing. It's nothing to me. It doesn't matter. But then we went into a POC, right, for Erudite at the same time. This is the next step. When you get somebody on a POC, give them more than what you promise. Under promise, over deliver every time. Always give them more. After you do that, make it so obvious for them to renew with you because you're going to overachieve on that POC. And you say, okay, here's the offer. If you want to go full time with us, here's the full offer. And then you throw something in for free. The free thing I've been throwing in is Twitter for people. I'll manage your Twitter. And we'll do a bunch of posts on Twitter, a bunch of content for Twitter. Like, okay, it's a no-brainer. After you have like too much capacity, then you bump your prices up. This is when we're pitching manifesto. Bump your prices up like 2 times. Right? If you bump it up 2x, even if you lose half your clients, you're making the same amount of money for half the amount of work. For the first 2 months, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, I need to get some quick wins. I need some clients. Do the free work, do the POC, work hard as fuck on the POC, get them into a really good offer, lock them down. And that's how it works. And I wish somebody would have told me that, or I wish somebody would have smacked me and said, do it, you idiot. Yeah. I wasn't listening to myself.
Awesome. Free game when you're listening to this.
That's the actual framework to use. Like, use that framework. I see so many people like struggling to hit 10K a month. You should not be struggling to hit 10K a month. 10K a month should be like a minimum for you. Like, you shouldn't be struggling to hit that. What you should be struggling to hit is like 20, 30, 50. That's that's real talk. So if you're not at 10, follow that framework. You'll get to 10 in like a month or 2.
Awesome. James, man, I appreciate it. I'm going to let you go because I know you got to run. Thank you for joining me on the Rizz Dev podcast. And I hope to have you back, man. I'll continue to follow
absolutely.
you.
I would love to be back, man. Thank you. And hopefully I didn't drop too many F-bombs. This was fun, though.
Post is going to be crazy. I'm just going to be beep, beep. No. I'm just going to drop it as it is pretty much. But anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Cool, man. All right. Talk later.